All right, it's Glenn Murdoch here again, and what I'd like to do now is welcome you back to the section that is all about rapport. And we're going to have a little bit of a look at what rapport is and how you can build great rapport. But before we begin that, I want to ask you a question. What is rapport? How do you see rapport? And just think for a second, when someone says they're in rapport with you, what does that really mean to you right now? And I trust that when you get these questions, you are pausing or throwing out some answers and you're answering out loud so that you're really committing to your education. For me, rapport helps your clients to agree with you. It helps them to know that you are on their team. It stops them questioning you. And I can tell you as a coach and in life, I assume rapport 100% with everyone I meet. And I assume that rapport happens in an instant. I like to act as if I've known people for 20 years the minute I meet them. Let me give you an example of this. Out there, listening to this right now, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever traveled overseas? I've always been curious about when I'm overseas as to why a friendship grows so quickly. And I thought to myself, is it the alcohol that we're consuming? Is it the fact that we're overseas? Is it the fact that we're sharing a common interest? Is it the commonality and the state of trust? And I think to me, it could be all of those things, not necessarily the alcohol. But this assumption of rapport, this assumption of a commonality, the state of trust and responsiveness, which is what has been used as a definition for rapport before, I believe all of those are part of what happens with rapport. And we're going to explore them a little further as we move through this wonderful subject of rapport. Your role as a coach, by the way, folks, is to go into rapport with your clients. It's the unconscious mind that we want to hang out with, and it's the unconscious mind that we are working with when we're in deep rapport with someone. Now, I've got a question for you. And the question is, what is it that you know about communication? So I'm going to ask you this question. Fill in the gaps that are in front of you on this slide. Out of 100%, what percentage do you think words represent? Go on, say your answer out loud now. 0 to 100. Good, well done. Voice qualities represent, and what we're looking at here is your tonality, your tonality, voice quality. It represents what percentage? Good. Make sure you're having a go at these. Remember, having a go, it really, using your body to learn helps you with your learning. And your physiology, your body language, what percentage does that represent? Now let me fill in the answers for you. Words actually represent 7%. That's 7%. Voice qualities represent 38%. And body language represents 55%. Now, if you're adding those up, that means that 93% of what is being communicated to you and from you is unconscious awareness. 93%. 55% body language, 38% the tonality. They listen to what I say, the actual words, but I must be aware of my tonality and my body language. Now, is this sounding significant to you? Let me prove it. A great example of this is when you get home late. Now, you're home from an event, and let's say that your wife or your husband or your partner is sitting there, and you've come home later than you meant to. Now, if someone walks through that door, and let's say it's a guy, and I'll talk from personal experience, and I ask that question that a guy should never ask, even though I see the look on my wife's face. I see her tapping her feet. I see her arms crossed, and I ask that terrible question I should never ask. What is wrong with you? Or I ask her, hi honey, how are you? And she says to me, I'm fine. Now I know the tonality is telling me she's not. I know the fact that she's tapping her foot and her arms are crossed, that she is not fine. So the actual words, the word fine, the words I'm fine, the words I'm fine, they mean nothing, because it's what's being said to me unconsciously that means everything. And I want you to think about an example of that in your life. Think about when that has happened with you. So, very significant. As a coach, that means that you have to know how you are communicating. You've got to know how people are responding to you. If someone is silent, are they agreeing with you or are they just being polite? In a coaching session, your client is responding to everything. You've got to know what the response is. That is your job. As a coach, you have to be 100% present to everything in that session. Now, at this stage in the training, the live training, what we generally do is an example of going into rapport, an example of mirroring and matching and going into rapport with someone else. Now, let me quickly explain to you. If I'm sitting opposite you, let's pretend I am right now. I want you to sit in your seat and I want you to raise your left hand. Now, if I raise my right hand facing you, opposite you, I'm mirroring you. If I raise my left hand, I'm matching you. Okay, let me do that again. If you stand up right now, if you stand up and you lean to the right hand side and I lean to my left hand side facing you, I'm mirroring you. If I lean to my right hand side, I'm matching you. So sit back down again. If you sit and you're cross-legged and you've got your right leg crossed over your left leg, if I cross my left leg over my right leg, I'm mirroring you. If I do the opposite, I'm matching you. Get the idea? So that's mirroring and matching, and that's a couple of ways that you can go into rapport. And that's our physical demonstration because you can't see me, obviously. So this is how we're going to communicate and do a few of these things right now. So I've just had a brainwave. So what we're going to do a little test just with our hands. Alrighty? So match me, and you should have your exact opposite hand up to me. So my right hand is up, your left hand should be up. Now mirror me. So your left hand should be up. Oh, sorry, your right hand. It gets confusing looking at the screen. Match me. Mirror me. Match me. Mirror me. So I hope that helped you. We'll go back to the presentation now. So, trust that you enjoyed that, and at least we get to say hello, which is lovely. With regard to the two different types of rapport, mirroring is definitely the most powerful, and matching not quite as powerful. Okay, so the deepest form of rapport is mirroring. It's the most unconscious form of rapport, and matching, it's a really nice thing to use in sales. I don't believe it's ethical to use mirroring in sales. I think there's a lot of choice that can be taken out of the client's hand, but you can definitely coach sales people to use matching. 100%, there's integrity with that, I believe. Not quite as much with mirroring. So what could you do now? You could find a partner and go into rapport with them at home and practice going into rapport, just sitting there and getting that really nice feeling of rapport. You could do that as a really nice exercise that you could move on with right now. So the whole concept of rapport that whole concept of rapport is based on a presupposition. And that presupposition is that people are attracted to people they like or people that they want to be like. People are attracted to people they like or people they want to be like. That's the premise. Now, when you're going into rapport with someone, it's really important that you're constantly tuning into your client. It's not about how you're feeling, it's about how your client is feeling. It means that you need to develop a sense of awareness that's way above that of a normal conversation. And guys, let's go back to why it is that we're doing this. And the reason that we're doing this is so that you can get into your client's map. It's another way of entering your client's map. And remember, we've got questions, we've got listening skills, we've got building rapport, all of these ways of us being able to go into our client's map, okay? When you're matching and mirroring, it's important that you do it with a real subtlety and with 100% respect. It's not about being mechanical with this. It's a really beautiful flow. You've got to be 100% aware of the fact that you're always communicating with your body and with your language. So, given that rapport isn't by chance, that it is a choice, and that it's a matter of understanding and totally respecting rapport, let me ask you this. What do you think the things that you can match and mirror and go into rapport with someone else are? I want you to pause this learning and I want you to write down 5 things that you think that you can utilize to go into rapport with someone. Go on, pause the tape. All right, welcome back. So, did you write down 5 things? Let me give you a quick indication of some of the things that you can use to go into rapport. There's physiology. So, are they leaning forward? Then you can lean forward. Are they tilting slightly to the side? You can tilt slightly to the side. Do they have their hands held together? You can hold your hands together. Have they got their hands placed on their lap with their palms open and facing down? Then you can do the same thing. Their voice, is it high? Is it low? Do they talk quickly? Do they talk slowly? Are they deep talking? Are they loud or are they quiet? Are they a little slower or do they talk really fast? What about their language? Different words that they say. You can repeat words back to people to get some commonality. What about different beliefs that they have or values? Can you also take on and match some of those beliefs and values? Experiences, and I find experiences a wonderful way to build rapport with someone. Finding out what someone's done, what they've had in their life, and seeing whether you can somehow match that with things that you've done. And isn't this starting to sound familiar with the things that we talked about with travel earlier in this class? I love to use travel as a way of being able to build rapport with someone. Where have you been? Oh, the Greek islands. Fantastic. I was there. How wonderful are they? You've been to London. I lived in London for a little while. Isn't it brilliant? You've been to the States. I went to the States. How crazy is Vegas? Where else did you go? Oh, wow. I went there as well. And you can build rapport with people. The other experience that I've found recently is a wonderful way to build rapport with people is having children. And now that I have children, I find I can have wonderful conversations with other people who also have children. Okay? You've also got breathing and blinking as another way of building rapport. Someone's breathing rate. Is it shallow? Is it deep and long? And blinking. You can blink when they blink. One of the masters of hypnotherapy, Milton Erickson, used to be so in tune with his clients that he could match their pulse rate. So he would find a pulse that he could pick up either in the wrist or the carotid pulse or in an ankle, and he would tap his pen or tap his finger at the exact same time to build rapport. Cool, huh? Okay, so let's move along. The next heading I want you to have is the indications of rapport. So these are the things that you're looking for. Number one, a really lovely feeling inside. And when you're in rapport with someone, don't you feel that? You feel like you've got that lovely feeling, a nice flush inside. Number two, you feel as if you've known the person for longer than you have. And when you've been in a great conversation with someone at a party or someone that you've just met, don't you hear those words, wow, I feel like I've known you forever, or I feel like I've known you for years. Guys, that's rapport. There's usually a slight color change in the face, a little red flushing, and they will start to match your movements. And that's when you know that you're moving into rapport. Okay, that's when you really know you're moving into rapport. People who get together and get on well together, you can tell that they're in rapport. You can just tell. Their body posture is the same. It matches, it actually mirrors beautifully when they communicate with each other. They use the same gestures, they use the same mannerisms. So the key for you is to match some and not all of the body movements. And when you first start with this, you might just match one. Maybe it's just the spine angle, or the way that the legs are, or the way the hands positioned. Because guys, I've got to tell you, when you first start coaching, there are so many things for you to be concentrating on. You've got your questioning, you've got your listening skills, you've got your building of rapport on a whole lot of different levels. So many things for you to be concentrating on to get into the client's map. So, with regard to voice, and put a heading for voice, what are the kinds of things with voice you can match? You can match the tone of their voice, the speed of their voice, the volume, the pitch, phrases that they use, all of those different things. With regard to the language, I like to say words that people say to me back to them. So, and how's this? Have you ever noticed that when Aussies go overseas, if they're there for a long period of time, they actually pick up an accent? You know what? That's going into rapport with a whole country. If you go to Queensland, and apologies for my Queensland banana bender friends on the call, you'll notice that a lot of times the Queenslanders will say that beautiful A on the end of a sentence. Yeah, it's good A. Or I had a great day A. I notice that a lot of people, when they go to Queensland, pick up that to go into rapport with the Queenslanders that they're talking to. Cool, really cool stuff. With regard to beliefs and values, when we feel like someone, it's usually, when we feel like we like someone, it's often because they like similar things to us. They share a similar map of the world to us. Their beliefs are similar to ours, and they're similar enough that we often will forgive mismatching. We'll often forgive mistakes that they made. That's what generally tends to happen. And the reverse is true. When someone's not like us, we tend to forgive less than mismatching. We tend to forgive less often, less quickly when someone makes an error or goes against what we believe. Now, I want you to write a heading, pacing and leading. Because once rapport's been built, you are able to lead your clients to new levels of insight. And that's what this is for. Because when they trust you, when you have very deep rapport, you are able to get your client to the place where they believe your words are their thoughts. And you can lead your client that way. I use it as a bit of a dance. And the rhythm of the dance is pace, pace, lead. What does that mean? It means that you're pacing them, you're matching or mirroring. You're pacing them, you're matching or mirroring. And then you lead them. Great way to find out whether you're in rapport with someone is to take a drink. Will they take a drink with you? If they don't, you just go back and you pace, pace, lead again. Okay? Remembering that this is all about getting into your client's map, getting a real sense of trust and responsiveness from them. Guys, I've got to tell you, the meaning of any communication is the response that it gets. So think about that 100% in your life. The meaning of any communication is all about the response that it gets. You are communicating with your clients consciously and unconsciously for one purpose, and that is to give them the most amount of choice possible to make a transformation from where they are to where they want to be, and to assist in that 100%. So, there's a little bit more about rapport. I would love it now if you would go and do a couple of exercises for me. I want you to practice going into rapport with people on an unconscious level and feel how deep the relationship can build. Do it on a train, do it in a bar, do it at dinner. Practice becoming an expert in going into rapport. And I look forward to seeing you on the very next class. And we're going to look at modalities. And remembering, guys, we've got at the central core the client's map. And then around that, questioning, rapport building, modalities, which we're going to discuss next, our coaching models, and listening. All of these things, the doing type things, to allow you to get into your client's map. I'll look forward to the next time we catch up. Until then, you've got some rapport building practice to do. Bye for now.